For those of you who are on the fence about getting the Google Pixel 6 and wondering about the usability and how it fares as a daily driver, well, I got you covered there because recently I made a review sharing about how the P6 has been for like the last 3-4 months. The link is right up here. Now, I also know on the flip side that many of us care a lot about how the legendary Google camera performs that's famous in the Pixel line, and if that's the deciding factor on whether you buy any phone or not, let alone a Pixel, this is probably the video to watch. And I'm going to be pitting the Pixel 6 against the last true flagship that Google made, my own Pixel 2 XL, to see how much the camera system as a whole has changed since 2017. Can't believe it. So let's do this, and don't forget to subscribe and like if you like where this video is going after these messages. I'm thinking that most of you probably don't care all that much whether or not the preview image on the camera viewfinder matches the actual snapshot. But I do. I care about what you see is what you get, like the display matches the subject so there's less, figuring out what the right color balance is and all that. And also because it's my channel and I'll talk about what I like, dang it. But anyways, in practice, the screen pushes more of a blue-white presentation regardless of the scene. And so side by side, the 2XL looks downright neutral. And in case you're wondering, both of these displays, I set them to the natural color setting, so there's parity there. Another important thing to note is the 2XL came with a higher quality POLED panel straight from the factory running at 1440 by 2880 with a 538 ppi density versus 411 on the Pixel 6, which means the XL looks better and seems closest to the real scene than this guy. The autofocus speed, for the most part, is quick, reliable, and decisive. It's ready to go whenever you need it. However, I did notice some hunting every 1 out of 10 times maybe whenever I fired up the camera app for the first time fresh from boot. It's kind of weird. It's all blurry. I had to tap the screen and otherwise you won't do anything. Any of you experienced the same problem? Feel free to comment down below. And since you're there, also feel free to subscribe to this channel. Yes. Auto HDR is where Google has nowadays gone for a slightly more saturated look. We used to say how Samsung's oversaturated colors back in the day of the 2XL, while the Google phone was considered more neutral, even though in actuality was more biased towards blue tones. And fast forward to 2022, what you got? Samsung, while still the king of color pop, has toned it down quite a bit, while Google is slowly creeping up the saturation ladder. Man, how times have changed. Well, at least if you want to, you can manually change the color temperature with the on-screen slider. Oh, and speaking of sliders, on the 2XL, the only thing we got was the ability to change brightness. Now you can play with not just brightness and color temp, but also white balance. That's not bad. Sure, it's not a full-on pro mode, but it's powerful enough for those of us who want more control. With Tensor and the Pixel 6, Google took the opportunity to introduce something they call real tone for photography. Basically, it's a tuned algorithm for capturing more accurate skin tones. And this is huge, guys, because cameras in general have a hard time properly rendering the various hues of our skin, especially darker ones. It just produces one flat color for the most part. So how does real tone handle my sexy tan skin color? Let's find out. Portrait mode is a hit or miss in my book because when it works, it's right up there with the best of them. Until you begin pixel peeping, of course, because this has a really sad 8 megapixels. But when it doesn't, it really stands out, guys. Kind of reminding me of something I'll get from a 2016 phone with the same tech back when it was in its infancy. Seriously, with all of Google's computational prowess, things like hair and temples of my glasses can kind of sort of quickly trip it up, even in good lighting. And maybe the problem is with the lower resolution front lens that both of these 6s have to work with compared to the rest of the competition. Google, come on, come on. Low light and situations when night sight is activated are when the new hardware supersedes the old really easily, especially in increased detail, decreased noise, quicker focus. It's not even funny, guys, and processing is at least twice as fast too, which is a boon for impatient people like myself. Now, night sight naysayers might call the final images unnaturally brightened, which is true in a sense, but really, if I'm making a conscious decision to point the camera at a beach at night, for example, I don't want my picture to be pitch black. Zoom, to be honest, is just okay, especially on the standard 6, and so is wide angle. And for both the standard 6 and the 6 Pro, it would have been nice if they pushed out further like Samsung and OnePlus's do. I definitely would like to see improvements in this area in like the Pixel 6a or more likely the 7. Alright, let's see. Any camera app instability or crashes? Nope. Even before the February update, and I know there were some out there having random crashes, but the app for me has been rock solid so far. And once again, I think it's the Tensor chip plus RAM combo that is a big part of what makes the video and camera features like resource heavy, astrophotography, and image stabilization work so well and so fast. In fact, there's more than enough headroom for not just the camera to run happily, but to multitask as well, between like say playing a relatively heavy game and then I switch to Gmail, then switch to Instagram, and then back to the camera, and everything will be just as where I left them. Heck, I can even add a screen recording on top of that all, and no problem. It might introduce a little bit of lag and stutter, but think about this. Previous Pixels would drop background apps like flies whenever you launched the camera. So not many people talk about this, but the usual workflow after taking pictures or videos is that you'll be editing in Google Photos. It's worth mentioning that when you buy a P6, you're no longer getting the free uploads to Google Photos, so every photo, every video counts against your free storage quota. If you do pay for larger storage, machine learning features in Google Photos such as color pop and portrait light will be made available. I'm personally not a fan of the paywall, but if you want to have these, you can do so for as little as $2. Some of you may ask, how about shooting in RAW? And yes, you can with a P6, you just have to toggle it. And well, let's be honest, if you're actually considering or thinking about RAW, then you're more than just the casual photographer, which means you care about getting the best out of your files. Which also means that you probably already know that Lightroom seems to work best at getting all the info out of the larger RAW files, minus and negating all of Google's own processing. Pardon the pun, but capturing video on the Pixel 6 is such a night and day difference. Where the Pixel 2 XL struggled with panning, noise in dark areas, okay audio from the mics, and what was overall at the end of the day a pretty flat image, the 6 redeems itself with newfound exuberance, color vibrancy, and image stability that brings it back near the top of the pack. Even recorded audio also has more of a stereo effect and more bass right out the box. And I can't say this enough guys, videography is no longer the Achilles heel of the Pixel lineup. But that being said too, the only major chink in the armor is color accuracy in my opinion, as daylight falls especially and darkness creeps in. Blues, for some reason in certain situations, like this shot of the tree and the lamp, can get garish and flat. It's as if HDR stepped in and couldn't figure out what blue is supposed to look like. The 2XL's optical image stabilization was impressive when it first came out, and really honestly it still is. And thankfully the Pixel 6's version takes it up a couple of notches, bordering on almost GoPro-like levels of stabe. With this phone guys, you'll sometimes wonder how you got that shot handheld without even a tripod. It's pretty bloody fire, I'll tell you what. Looking strictly from a camera perspective, the hardware on the Pixel 6 is a beast. It's fast on the front and back end of things, it's reliable, it just produces very pleasing and detailed images. But honestly though, at the end of the day, there's already a parity of quality between top phones nowadays, and yes, I know there are differences, but they're pretty minor. And as a consumer, it comes down, I guess, to perhaps brand loyalty and what ecosystem you prefer or are already enmeshed in, and even how each brand handles color and rendering might affect your decision as well. But the Pixel 6 series, they stand out for doing a lot of things right in varied situations like nighttime or action shots, and not to mention the entire camera workflow, from taking the photo or video to storing and archiving and editing and viewing in Google Photos and then posting to social media. If I were to be subjectively critical, HDR can be overly aggressive in low light. I wish the front cam on both models weren't so weak sauce. Zoom is too sad on the regular 6, while the 6 Pro has this weird jarring stepped zoom transition. And yes, perhaps more pro controls in the camera app, because who doesn't like more power? Well, that's all I got today guys, and thank you so much for watching this. I know this is a different format from what I normally do, but I really appreciate y'all watching this and just staying with me to the end. I'm going on family vacation for the next week and a half, so I won't see you till the first week of March. But I hope you guys take care of yourself. Remember to subscribe to this channel and share this channel, GearUP, with your friends and family, and ask them to sub as well, because I'm trying to get to 50,000 subs and I need your help to get there. Also remember to thumbs up if you like this video. Visit my Patreon page and help support me financially like Super Yen and Barbecue Jones have, and so many others before them. I'm also on social media. Check me out in Twitter, Insta, and everywhere. And yeah, guys, remember to do something good and loving and kind for somebody in this world, because guess what? The world needs it more than ever, and it starts with you. I love y'all. Peace out, and God bless.